hope you're still fully enjoying the Christmas season and preparing for the new year. The topic of this video seems to have slightly better timing than my previous one, as I will give you some tips for setting annual personal goals. Goals are something we usually know from work. If we work on them hard all year, we will get some rewards, whether financial or perhaps in the form of career growth. And that's great, of course. But 3 years ago, I set myself for the first time some private, personal goals. There were only a few of them, but most of them were quite challenging, such as to buy a new flat at a time of not very favorable situation in the real estate market, etc. It was strange that for those challenging goals on my list, I didn't have to put in any significant effort in the end. In that year, I realized how important it is just to know what we want and writing it all down somewhere, so that we can review our goals throughout the year and evaluate our progress. Based on that experience, the following year, I set myself many more personal goals, and even in more areas, as I believe that there is always something we can work on and improve in our lives, whether it's a lifestyle, relationship, finances, or anything else. If you're also considering setting some personal goals, here are a few tips on my part that might be helpful. First of all, spend some time on your goals. If you want to stay committed to your goals throughout the year, your goals should come from within you. Take some time and try to make a self-reflection in which areas of your life you would like to improve. Then, the following week, think about any potential goals, but just in the background while doing other activities such as cooking, cleaning, or anything else. And anytime any idea pops up, write it down somewhere. Then, usually on the last day of the year, I spend some time with those ideas and try to make a final list of my goals. But I think it should be okay if you complete your list also at the end of the first New Year's week. Then I highly recommend you to set some easy to accomplish goals right at the beginning of the year. For example, I usually set the goal to eat more fruits and vegetables and not to drink any alcohol in January and February. Since I don't drink very often anyway, it's really not that hard. But for example, I had my birthday in February, so I celebrated it only with water in the last 3 years. The main purpose of these easy goals is to make the start of accomplishing your goals smooth, and it should motivate you to continue and work also on other, more challenging goals on your list. On the other hand, I like to set at least one or a few challenging goals to face my fears and push the boundaries of my comfort zone. As I mentioned in my video about comfort zone, in 2019 it was, for example, to run a half marathon, to start driving in our capital city Bratislava, and a few more. Honestly, I never thought about running a half marathon before. It was really just an idea that randomly popped up in my mind in the process of setting my yearly personal goals. But I think that success in achieving that goal provided me with the courage to continue and work also on other challenging goals that were quite important also from the practical point of view, like driving in Bratislava. This year, the most challenging one was to launch this YouTube channel, for example. My next tip is consider different areas of improvement. I usually try to set goals for more areas, for example, to improve my eating habits, some physical activity related goals, learning goals such as to learn French, read books, financial goals. For example, I set a target amount I wanted to save for my salary each month. I usually set also some traveling goals, although to plan traveling nowadays is really challenging. Relationships are another area in which we may want to improve. I also hopefully slightly better granddaughter this year than previous years, as I have developed a habit of calling my grandmothers every other Sunday. Sometimes just a small action that doesn't require a lot of time can make a huge difference. You can decide to improve your relationship with your partner, children, parents, etc. You can even decide to volunteer somewhere. I mean, there are surely many areas of improvement for every one of us. I even like to group my goals into categories to make the list clearer. But keep in mind, when setting your goals, that the more goals you choose, the more time and effort they will require from you. Be careful and don't choose too many so that you are not overwhelmed, and don't give up, because remember, self-improvement is a continuous process, and successful achieving of at least all important goals this year should keep you motivated to continue working on yourself also next year. as we are not only at the end of the year, but we are approaching a new decade. It's a perfect opportunity to decide now and start proactively creating and improving our lives for the better. Unfortunately, the situation with COVID-19 virus is still not over, and we should keep it in mind when deciding about our goals and choose them according to the current situation. By doing this, your annual personal goals can help you not only support positive change in your life, but also shift your focus from things you can't influence, such as COVID-19 virus, to the things you can control, like your action, habits, learning, etc. And it will charge you with positive energy. Setting your annual personal goals can be the first step to improving those areas of your life that require your attention. But writing them all somewhere is really just the first step. To achieve your goals, you need to stay in touch with them. But I will tell you something more about how I usually continue working with my personal yearly goals in my next video. So hopefully see you soon, already in the new year 2021. And feel free to like, share this video and subscribe to my channel.